There's a strange, unspoken pain that some people carry. You might feel it yourself, the weight of something you can't quite name, a heaviness that doesn't seem to come from your own life, but from something deeper, older. This is the story of the chosen ones, the individuals who have been tasked, knowingly or unknowingly, with breaking cycles of generational trauma. And let me tell you, being a chosen one, it's not just a calling, it's a burden, but it's also the path to something extraordinary. Let me start with a question. Have you ever felt like you were born into chaos, into a family or community where pain, dysfunction, or trauma seem to be passed down like an inheritance? Maybe your parents carried their own unhealed wounds, and their parents did too. Maybe you've seen patterns, addiction, abuse, abandonment, or even just a deep, gnawing emptiness that ripple through the generations like echoes in a canyon. That's the legacy of trauma. And if you're watching this, there's a chance you've been chosen to stop it. The first moments of this journey are often the hardest to understand. At first, it feels unfair. You didn't ask for this. You didn't ask to be born into a family with all this pain. Why should you be the one to fix it? Why couldn't you have a normal life, free from the weight of the past? But here's the truth: the universe doesn't choose just anyone for this work. It chooses those who are strong enough, those who have the potential to transform pain into wisdom and darkness into light.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
In the Bible, there's a story about Joseph, a man who was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. From the outside, Joseph's life seemed like an endless series of unfair tragedies. But Joseph was a chosen one. Through his suffering, he gained wisdom and strength, and eventually he rose to a position of power where he was able to save not only his family but an entire nation from famine. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph says to his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." That's the essence of what it means to be a chosen one. The pain you endure is not meaningless. It's forging you into someone who can break the cycle and create a new legacy. But let's get real for a moment. Knowing this doesn't make the pain any easier. When you're in the thick of it, when you're reliving the trauma of your ancestors, when you're facing the anger, the fear, the sadness that seems to have no end, it's almost impossible to see the bigger picture. You might feel like you're drowning in emotions that aren't even yours. And in a way, you are. Generational trauma isn't just psychological, it's biological. Studies have shown that trauma can literally alter your DNA, and those changes can be passed down to your children. What you're feeling isn't just in your head. It's in your body, in the very fibers of your being. This is where the work begins. The first step is to recognize that the pain you're carrying isn't just your own. It's the pain of those who came before you, your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. They didn't have the tools or the awareness to heal, so they passed their wounds down to you. But here's the thing: you do have the tools. You have the awareness, and that's why you've been chosen. Let me share a quote from Carl Jung, one of the greatest philosophers and psychoanalysts of all time. "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." What Jung is saying is that the patterns of trauma, the cycles of pain, will continue to control your life until you face them head on. This is the work of the chosen one, to shine a light into the darkness, to bring the unconscious into the conscious, and to break the cycle once and for all. But how do you do that? How do you heal wounds that aren't even yours? The answer is both simple and incredibly difficult. You have to feel it. You have to face the pain, the fear, the anger, the sadness. You have to sit with it, acknowledge it, and let it move through you. It's not about blaming anyone, your parents, your ancestors, or even yourself. It's about understanding that they were doing the best they could with the tools they had. And now it's your turn to do better. This process isn't linear. It's messy, it's painful, and it's going to take time. But every step you take towards healing is a step towards freedom, not just for you, but for everyone who comes after you. You're not just breaking the cycle for yourself. You're breaking it for your children, your grandchildren, and all the generations that follow. You're creating a new legacy, one of healing, strength, and love. And here's the beautiful thing: as you heal, you'll start to see the gifts that come with being a chosen one. You'll develop a depth of understanding, a compassion, and a resilience that most people can't even imagine. You'll become a beacon of light for others who are still trapped in the darkness. And you'll realize that the pain you endured wasn't just a burden, it was a teacher. In the words of Friedrich Nietzsche, he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Your why is to break the cycle, to transform the pain of the past into a brighter future. And when you keep that why in mind, you'll find the strength to keep going, no matter how hard it gets. This is the path of the chosen one. It's not easy and it's not fair, but it's also the most important work you'll ever do. Because when you heal, you don't just heal yourself, you heal the world. The journey of a chosen one doesn't get easier as you move forward. In fact, it often gets harder before it gets better. Why? Because as you begin to confront the generational trauma within you, you'll start to see it everywhere. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, only to find that there's always another layer beneath it. But this is the nature of healing. It's not a straight path, but a spiral. Each time you come back to the same pain, you're approaching it from a deeper level, with more awareness and more strength. One of the hardest parts of this journey is facing the resistance not just from within yourself, but from the people around you. When you start to break generational patterns, it can feel like you're going against the current of your entire family system. You might be labeled as the difficult one, the black sheep, or even the ungrateful one, but remember this: the very fact that you're willing to question the way things have always been is proof of your strength. It's proof that you're breaking free from the cycle. Take a moment to think about this on a practical level. Let's say you grew up in a family where emotions were never talked about. Maybe your parents taught you directly or indirectly that vulnerability was a weakness. Now, as an adult, you're trying to unlearn that. You're trying to be open, to express your feelings, to connect with others on a deeper level. But when you start doing this, you might notice that your family pushes back. They might dismiss your feelings, tell you that you're being too sensitive, or even accuse you of making things up. This is their defense mechanism. It's not about you, it's about their inability to face their own pain. In moments like these, it's tempting to give up. It's tempting to go back to the old ways, to shrink yourself to fit into the mold that your family has created for you. But remember, you weren't chosen to fit in. You were chosen to break free. And breaking free requires courage. It requires you to stand firm in your truth, even when it feels like the whole world is against you. The Bible offers another powerful story that speaks to this struggle. In the book of Exodus, Moses is called by God to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. But even after witnessing countless miracles, the Israelites resist. They complain, they doubt, and some of them even want to go back to Egypt, back to their chains, because it's familiar. Change is terrifying, even when it leads to freedom. But Moses doesn't waver. He keeps moving forward, even when the people he's trying to help resist him at every turn. That's the kind of determination you need as a chosen one. You have to keep moving forward, even when it feels like you're walking through a desert, even when the people around you are begging you to turn back. Now let's talk about the internal resistance. This might be even harder to face than the external pushback. Because here's the thing: your mind and body have been shaped by the very patterns you're trying to break. If you grew up in chaos, your nervous system might be wired to expect chaos. If you grew up in a household where love was conditional, you might find it hard to believe that unconditional love is even possible. These patterns are deeply ingrained. They're like grooves in a record, and every time you try to play a new song, your mind wants to pull the needle back into the old groove. This is where self-compassion becomes crucial. You're not going to heal overnight. You're going to slip back into old patterns. You're going to make mistakes. And that's okay. Healing isn't about being perfect, it's about being persistent. It's about showing up for yourself, again and again, even when it feels like you're failing. Remember what Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This is your power. You can choose, moment by moment, to create a new story for yourself and for the generations that come after you. One of the most practical ways to do this is to develop a daily practice of self-awareness. This could be journaling, meditation, therapy, or even just taking a few moments each day to check in with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Where is this feeling coming from? Is it mine, or is it something I've inherited? The more you can name and understand your emotions, the less power they'll have over you. And over time, you'll start to rewrite the patterns that have been passed down to you. But here's the thing, healing isn't just about looking back. It's also about looking forward. As a chosen one, you have the opportunity to create a new legacy, not just for yourself, but for your children, your community, and even the world. And this is where the real magic happens. Because as you heal, you'll start to see how your individual journey is connected to something much bigger. Let me share a powerful insight from Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and the author of Man's Search for Meaning. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. This is the ultimate truth of the chosen one's journey. You can't change the past. You can't undo the pain that your ancestors endured. But you can transform yourself, and in doing so, you can transform the future. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like setting boundaries with people who perpetuate the cycles of trauma. It looks like seeking out relationships that nourish you rather than drain you. It looks like creating rituals and traditions that celebrate healing, joy, and connection. It looks like becoming the kind of person you needed when you were a child, the kind of person who can provide love, safety, and understanding, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. And here's the most beautiful part: as you heal, you'll start to see how your ancestors are with you, cheering you on. They may not have been able to heal in their lifetimes, but their strength, their resilience, their love, it's all within you. They passed down their wounds, yes, but they also passed down their wisdom. And when you heal, you're not just healing for yourself, you're healing for them too. This is the paradox of being a chosen one. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the most rewarding. Because when you break the cycle, you're not just freeing yourself, you're freeing everyone who came before you and everyone who will come after you. As the journey of the chosen one continues, you begin to notice that the deeper you go, the more interconnected everything becomes. What started as a personal healing process begins to ripple outward, touching every aspect of your life and even the lives of others around you. But this stage of the journey is where the real challenges emerge, the moments that test your resolve, your faith, and your sense of purpose. Because to truly break the cycle, you must not only confront the trauma within yourself, but also learn how to navigate a world that may not yet be ready to embrace the new you. One of the hardest lessons for any chosen one is this: not everyone will understand your path, and not everyone will come with you. This can be one of the most painful realizations of all. As you grow, as you heal, as you shed the layers of generational pain, you may find that some people in your life, friends, family, even those you love deeply, are unable to meet you where you are. They may cling to the old patterns, the old ways of being, because that's what feels safe and familiar to them. And as you step into your new identity, it might feel like you're leaving them behind. But here's the truth: you're not leaving them behind. You're creating a path forward. And even if they're not ready to walk that path with you now, your healing still creates the possibility that they might one day find their own way to freedom. In Matthew 10:34-36, Jesus says something that's often misunderstood but profoundly relevant to the journey of a chosen one: "Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother." What Jesus is saying here isn't that he came to create conflict for its own sake, but that the path of truth and transformation often disrupts the status quo. It forces people to confront uncomfortable truths, and not everyone is ready for that. But this disruption is necessary for growth. And this is where your role as a chosen one becomes even more important. As you heal, you become a mirror for others. Your growth, your courage, your willingness to face the darkness, it challenges people to look at their own lives, their own wounds, their own patterns. Some will be inspired by this. Others may feel threatened by it. And that's okay. Your job isn't to fix anyone else. Your job is to live your truth so fully, so authentically, that you become a beacon of light for those who are ready to see it. But let's talk about the internal struggle that comes with this. Because even as you grow, even as you heal, there will be moments of doubt. Moments when the weight of the journey feels too heavy to bear. Moments when you question whether it's all worth it. After all, breaking generational trauma isn't just about healing the past. It's about rewriting the future. And that kind of responsibility can feel overwhelming. This is where faith becomes essential, not necessarily faith in a religious sense, but faith in the process, faith in yourself, faith in the idea that the pain you're enduring has a purpose. Remember the story of the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years. That wasn't just a physical journey. It was a spiritual one. They had to let go of the mindset of slavery, the patterns of fear and limitation that had been ingrained in them for generations, before they could step into the promised land. And that process took time. It took faith. It took a willingness to keep moving forward, even when they couldn't see the destination. So how do you cultivate that kind of faith? One of the most powerful ways is through gratitude. It might sound counterintuitive, but gratitude can be a profound tool for healing. Even in the midst of pain, even when it feels like everything is falling apart, there is always something to be grateful for. Maybe it's the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still fighting. Maybe it's the small moments of beauty as sunrise, a kind word from a stranger, the feeling of your own heartbeat. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it shifts your perspective. It reminds you that even in the darkness, there is light. Another crucial practice is forgiveness, not just for others, but for yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the harm that was done to you or your ancestors. It doesn't mean pretending that the pain didn't happen. What it means is releasing yourself from the grip of that pain. It means choosing to let go of the anger, the bitterness, the resentment that keeps you tied to the past. And most importantly, it means forgiving yourself for the times you've fallen short, for the mistakes you've made, for the moments when you felt like giving up. Because healing isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And this brings us to one of the most profound realizations of the Chosen One's journey. Healing isn't just an individual process. It's a collective one. As you heal, you contribute to the healing of the world. Think about it when you break a cycle of trauma. You're not just changing your own life. You're changing the lives of everyone you interact with. You're creating a ripple effect that can extend far beyond what you can see. In the words of the philosopher Marcus Aurelius, what we do now echoes in eternity. But here's the thing, this ripple effect works both ways. Just as your healing can inspire others, their healing can inspire you. The more you surround yourself with people who are also committed to growth, the easier it becomes to stay on your path. Seek out those who uplift you, who challenge you to be your best self, who remind you of your own strength. And if you can't find those people in your immediate circle, seek them out in books, in videos, in communities of like-minded souls. You are not alone in this journey. There are others out there who understand what you're going through, who are walking their own paths of healing and transformation. And as we near the end of this exploration, let me leave you with this: being a chosen one isn't about being better than anyone else. It's not about perfection or superiority. It's about responsibility. It's about choosing to take the pain you've been given and transform it into something beautiful. It's about choosing love over fear, growth over stagnation, and hope over despair. In the end, the pain of carrying generational trauma isn't just a burden. It's a gift. Because through that pain, you have the opportunity to create something extraordinary: a life of freedom, a legacy of healing, a world where the cycles of suffering are finally broken. And remember this: you are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by what you choose to do with it. You are a chosen one, and the world is waiting for the light only you can bring.